didn't marry because I knew that I would not be able to have the life that I had dreamed if I married. I didn't marry because I've been partnered with Stedman since 1785. And he is a wonderful man, but he is also a traditional man who had his own ideas about what being a wife was. And the moment what I realized, and this is what you all to know for yourself, I wanted to feel worthy enough to be asked. And the day he asked me, I started to feel like, oh God, what does it really mean to be married?
I am choicefully single, happily, gloriously single.
Amen.
And I do wish there were more examples. So many people ask the question, have you ever thought about having children? Like, I mean, my child gave my life meaning. I'm like, are you saying my life is not meaningful?
Yeah.
And because of the structure that we live in, it is so easy for me to feel undermined with all the accomplishment that I've had. And
Well,
all right, so that's where the video stops right there, guys. I didn't stop it. That's where it stops. I thought this interaction between Oprah Winfrey and Tracee Ellis Ross was pretty fascinating because you hear what she said there about why she wanted to be a wife. It wasn't because she actually wanted to be a wife. No, she wanted to know that a man would be willing to pick her, willing to get on one knee and say, I want you to be my wife. And then, you know, you have Tracee Ellis Ross there who chimes in and says, hey, are you saying that because I don't have children, because I don't have a marriage, because these women are in the same situation. Sure, one may be vastly richer than the other one, but they're the same type of archetype type of a woman. Tracee Ellis Ross says, are you saying because I don't have a marriage or children, that means I don't have any meaning? Here's why. The two reasons I think this conversation is actually a pretty good conversation. How many chicks do you guys think are out here begging for that ring? I mean, gave their men ultimatums, sat down and said, listen, what are we doing? You've been dating me for this long and you have not brought up the question. Sometimes that works. But a lot of times that man feels pressured to do something that he may not necessarily think that he doesn't want, but he's like, I don't know if you would make a great wife or maybe the type of wife that he needs. And I think it's bigger than that, right? I think there are more chicks out here with Oprah's mentality who just never realize it until they serve their husband with those divorce papers. Are you guys following me? If only they understood, if only they knew the sacrifices that come with marriage. And if you really get to the root of all this thing, it's really just like an ego thing almost. You just want to know that a man would make you his wife, but you don't actually want to be that. I think there are more and more chicks out here in that exact same situation. We know they don't want to be that. Why? Because the first place they go when problems start to get so difficult, I'm talking about modern day women, to the point where the therapist won't help, the pastor won't help. They don't know where else to turn. They turn to TikTok. We see them often complaining about what marriage is. And what do they try to do? They try to change what marriage should be. We've seen it over and over again. And if only, because I actually think that it was sort of commendable for Oprah Winfrey to say, wait, do I actually want this? Yeah, I like this thing we have going on. And by the way, I don't think marriage is for everybody. She was really self-reflective and said, you know what? I think I want to keep this thing going. I don't think I would make a good wife. I think there's so many chicks out there today who also could benefit from realizing and really, really accepting, like, this is what marriage is. This is what it means to be a wife. Because that they want to change it. And the problem with changing the institution of marriage, and I'm talking about the actual dynamics within a marriage with the type of men that most women find attractive, is you're trying to change what that man wants and is looking for. You're not going to do that. You need to be honest with yourself and say things like, hey, I just want the pretty dress. I just want all eyes on me for a day or two. I just want the validation of being picked by a man. But to admit that, you know, would be sort of a humbling thing to a lot of chicks today, to admit that, hey, I want to know that I could lock down the type of man that I found attractive. I'm not talking about the dusty dude who you always bring up, who got on one knee because he's been simping for the past, who knows how long. No, the man that you want. I thought this was interesting. The other thing I wanted to do was find out a little bit more about Oprah Winfrey and her marriage. And there was this video right here that I actually cannot play out loud. And I'm going to ask Miss Coffee to actually summarize it for us because it has some music in the background. You guys know what the music thing, it could go either way. And here, Miss Coffee, can you please summarize this video for us, please, so we can avoid some copyright? Let us know what this is about.
All right now, hun. This video's brewing up some reflection on modern love and what it really means to commit without a contract.
Okay.
So here's the essence of what it's saying, without stepping on any copyright toes. It's using Oprah and Stedman as an example of a couple that's done things outside the norm. 30+ years together, engaged but never married. And not because they couldn't, but because they chose not to. The core idea? They didn't tie the knot because they felt that doing so might have ruined what they had. Oprah's background, growing up with trauma, dealing with control issues, made her feel like marriage could become a cage. She didn't want to be owned, and she didn't want to give up her identity, especially as a woman with massive vision and career goals. Now Stedman? He's being painted as the man who didn't need to be in charge. He wasn't trying to control her or change her. He just supported her from the sidelines.
I bet a lot of us would love to support Oprah Winfrey from the sidelines. Come on, man. They're acting like what a sacrifice was made. Supporting a billionaire from the sidelines. I know a few guys who'll be like, hey, I'll applaud from the sideline. I'll be the strong man she needs, right?
The message here is that maybe love doesn't always need a marriage certificate to be real.
Is that what held them together? Oh, is it those bank statements that were hitting the account consistently? Let me stop being a fool, man. Let's keep
to be deep or to be long-lasting. And the question it ends with is real spicy. Could not being married actually help love last longer? Now that's going to stir some cups, depending on who's listening. Want me to break it down from a man's lens too?
No, we got it. But thank you. Thank you, Ms. Coffee. So a lot was said right there. I think that was a good question she asked. Could not being married actually help love last longer? I think it probably does. And let me frame that the right way so you understand where I'm coming from. I think marriage has less to do with love and more to do with what you're building, the legacy of the family. And I'm talking about the children here who come after you, and also the challenges that you overcome together, you, your significant other in this life. Love is a beautiful thing, but it doesn't keep people together. And if you've matured in your understanding of relationships, you know that. And so, yeah, I would say not getting married probably keeps that love together because then you don't have these marital commitments. The reality is marriage does change you. She says she doesn't want to give up her identity. That is true. Once you get married, you give up a part of who you are, right? It changes how you define yourself, your goals, and you have to take into consideration, strong consideration, not only your needs, but also your significant other, right? Not to mention your children and so on and so forth. But here's the coffee when it gets to the situation we're about to get into right now, right? And they're not going to like this. But think of the women that look up to a woman like Oprah Winfrey or Tracee Ellis Ross. And I'm not just talking about they appreciate them for their acting skills or the things that they've accomplished in life. No, I'm talking about the ones that see themselves in these women. These are typically the type of chicks who will say things like, I don't mind being single, and today's men are misogynistic. They expect these traditional dynamics within the relationship. And they'll say things like, I don't care if I don't get married. I'm coming to peace with that. You never hear women who are struggling to survive talk like this. You don't, right? Those are the chicks who are like, hey, we're all the good men. We're all the good men. And the irony in this conversation is this. I believe the final form of the successful boss babe is a woman who takes care of her man. And I just think that's so ironic that the only way you see him be able to truly have these type of dynamics and have a successful relationship, may not be a marriage, but relationship, is when that man can shut up and live that soft life. You get what I mean? Oprah Winfrey's, who she calls her partner, has been living that soft life for 30 plus years. And I am saying that even if a woman today says to me or you, or announces and says, you know, I don't see myself getting married, like, let's be honest here. You're in your 30s. You're going to be celibate for the rest of your life. Come on. Someone's getting access to you. You're not, these aren't Bible believing, you know, Christian women who are taking this path and avoiding any type of sexual immorality. I mean, even the ones that are, once in a while, come on. Let's be real. Men do have access to you to some degree. And I think the final stage of that, a woman who truly embraces that, is the type of woman who's either taking care of a man who she says, oh yeah, he respects me for my strong and independence, you know, never signed anything, not an official husband, but he's like a partner, but she takes care of him. She truly becomes that man. But they'll label it as, this is the man who respects me for who I am. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that if that's the type of dynamic that you value and want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a little bit ironic. And then you might have somebody who may say, well, that's not true. Tracee Ellis Ross doesn't have that type of dynamic. Yeah, but and we're about to get into that next. She also talks about dating younger men. Dating younger men. Younger men typically won't be as successful as you currently are. Younger men typically will shut up and let you lead because, yes, there is a degree of life experience, but, you know, there's a level of that man not really tapping fully into his masculinity as a man. And that's why typically when a woman gets older, if she's single and is still out here dating, she will be more open to younger men because they also view her as easily accessible. This isn't me just talking out of my butt here. I actually did a whole video on this with a data analyst. We sat there and looked through, you know, OkCupid information of these studies that they no longer do because it offends women. Looked at all of that. But that's it for this topic. Of course, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Moving on.
That often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, but watch.
This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracee's.
It's fun. It's really fun to share.
Tracee tale.
I'm sorry I'm pausing this so early. But isn't it interesting that you have Tracee Ellis Ross here talking about, I date younger men, and Michelle Obama's like, yeah, give it up for, yes, girl, yes. And they're all congratulating her for robbing the cradle. Hey, I don't know, as long as it's legal, to me, I think there's nothing wrong with it. Now, to a lot of you guys out there, you hate that the other way around, right? If a 52-year-old man was like, yeah, you know, that's why I love 20-year-olds, because they shut up. And some dudes were like, yeah. Women would be like, oh, this is disgusting. Keep listening.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Because I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm older, I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize and I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
I'm sorry.
So let me get this straight. The reason Tracee Ellis Ross cannot date older men is because they're filled with toxic masculinity? I mean, can we be honest about what she actually means by that? She says they wanted to control me. All that tells me is you were dealing with men who wanted something that you could not provide. And here lies the dilemma with a lot of modern women and men who are in the dating market today. How is it that you're defining what that man wants as toxic masculinity? I say it all the time, and people think that I'm being extreme or hyperbolic, or I'm just doing it for the clicks. I say it all the time. If you say, I am a man who values more traditional dynamics when it comes to a relationship, I'm a man who believes a man is the head of the household, I'm a man who believes that a woman has her place and a man has his place, and she's empowered in her role, right? Bringing that nurturing feminine energy. She takes care of the home, so on and so forth. Of course, this doesn't mean that she doesn't have a say, right? A man who loves his woman will take what she wants strongly into consideration. He will go out of his way, if he has a good woman, to make sure he does everything he can in most cases to satisfy his entire family. And this shouldn't be to the detriment of his own mental well-being, because a good woman will recognize that, right? And I'm saying all this stuff because I know people are going to, they're looking for any hole or angle to come in and say, oh, that's wrong. So let's get that out of the way right now. But how can you call what that man values toxic masculinity? So you're saying all the men in your age bracket are toxic. Does this sound crazy to anybody else? How can she say that? Because what I heard is, if you're a man who values those traditional dynamics and you want a woman who, because I missed one. Those men want her to embody a more feminine, submissive woman, to know that there's a hierarchy when it comes to relationships. There's no one thing where two people come to accomplish a certain goal, where there isn't some type of head in that situation. This is a worn out conversation. It doesn't exist. You want disorderliness. You want to talk back. That's what was going on, right? You want to argue. You want to get loud. And I can only imagine, when you got some paper, you're throwing that up there. I can only imagine the different perspectives we would get if the men who actually dated these women who label men who value more traditional dynamics, if they actually voiced out their experience, it would be crazy. Right? That would be a dangerous world. But I bet NDAs are signed and all types of stuff. And there's probably a small chance that something like that would happen. Of course, guys, I'm curious to know what you think. Let's keep listening here. I didn't cover this section in my last video, so I thought I should double back and just check this out.
Sorry. No, Craig. I was going to say, it's a generational thing. So it didn't matter how you met them, or is it just kind of the guys you're meeting?
That's obviously
too big of a generalization.
It's a generalization,
Yeah.
But because I have dated men my age, there is a difference. There is an openness that occurs with a younger man around whether it's gender fluidity or not even having an issue with homosexuality. I mean, something as basic as that.
Right.
Somebody in the last video was like, bro, you need to retire that soundboard. I will not. As long as we keep getting takes like this, I will not. Why is this the move? Why are we constantly pushing that men need to be more fluid? Right? I don't want to be fluid. I'm okay with being a man. I'm okay with being a man. What's wrong with being a man? I'm sorry, guys. That was my wife calling me. Her birthday's coming up. All right. Where were we? But yeah, man, this push that we see consistently of looking for men who are fluid. I'm okay with people choosing to live their lives the way that they want to live. And I truly mean that. Like, you guys know I've said that, being consistent when it comes to that particular topic. Is the future man a man who is fluid? Comment down below what you guys think of that, because I thought that was crazy. Let's keep listening.
that there's times
I hear you.
where I'll be, sitting across the table from somebody and just like, what did you just say?
Yeah, what century are you?
Like, oh my God.
Where's your horse and buggy?
Yeah, like, I'm so sorry.
And your bedpan.
Yeah, for real.
Chamber pot.
Yeah, your chamber pot. Your chamber pot. Like, where I'm just like, yeah, this is not a match.
Yeah.
And I have long been past the age where I feel like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up.
Yeah.
That I'm not interested in. So, but it's interesting. I mean, there's so.
I'm sorry, I gotta get in there one more time. Why is it that anytime a woman, when she's dating, right, she meets a man and they may disagree when it comes to values. And this is why channels like this are so popular. This is why they'll always continue to grow, because too many times is what a man wants within a relationship labeled as immature, right? She's like, oh, I don't want to teach you. No, you don't fit in that man's life. You two value different things. You're looking for a man who's fluid, right? You're looking for a man who, it sounds like you're looking for a bi man, a man who goes both ways, who's okay with homosexuality in his own life, right? This is not like, oh, what do you think about people choosing that? No, it sounds like you want some weird stuff happening there, and put that coffee down. But why does it have to be now? Oh, I need to teach you. Or I need to show you how a relationship goes. Ma'am, you're single. You haven't been married. Like, you would think that the chicks who are out here, like, when are men going to grow up? You would think that there's like a plethora of these relationships being formed left and right. You guys follow me? You would think there was actually examples of this, countless examples that they could point to and say, yeah, see, it's working over there and it's working over there. But a lot of times they're usually in the same position. Haven't found it. What you're looking for isn't something that happens and works in the majority of cases. And I know the hope is that people will then evolve into that, but I just don't think that's the way this is going to play out. It's just not. You're not going to change men. You're not going to change men's sexuality. You won't. Real men will always stand up and fight back. That's what men do, right? And real women love that.
So many different philosophies on dating, and I have come up with mine. I have come up with what works for me and what makes sense for me and what feels safe for me.
Yep.
I mean, like, I'm not on dating apps. I have friends that have great success with dating apps, but that's just not something I'm comfortable with.
So you're meeting folks in the wild then?
That's the only way for me, or someone sets me up, or I meet them at an event. I meet someone. It's usually people that also have a level of recognition that they have as much to lose as me to a certain extent. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had great luck lately, but I do have to say I'm moving up on what it is that I'm looking for as a match. Yeah. I've had some doozies. Yeah.
But I just love watching your life because you were modeling so many things, the next phase, how many versions of ourselves we can become at all ages in life, and how to build the life you want.
Yes.
Not the life that somebody told you you were supposed to have. And let me tell you, I told you this about the girls, and Tracee, just like, she mentors the girls. She's always there for them. But
I would not drink bean juice.
We know she doesn't drink bean juice, and she's a mentor. I mean, when it comes to being successful, I'm sure she has a lot of value there. But life, like, you want them to end up in their love life like Tracee Ellis Ross? I'm sorry, that's a bad idea. There's no other way of saying it.
Trying to make sure that I am not subconsciously sending them these messages about what their life should look like. Even like when you ask, are you dating anyone? I mean, that's something that we ask young people in their 20s, the whole thing about weddings,
we talk a lot about that.
Yeah. It's just.
All right. So this is touching on what I already covered, so we're not going to go further into that. You guys know I've talked a lot in the past. I've said a lot of positive things about the Obamas. This video definitely kind of made me question a lot of the way that I think that they may raise up their children. But those are their kids. It is what it is. Now, them as an example for other families is the problem. And what I mean by that is this idea that men who are masculine are toxic, that men who want traditional types of dynamics within their relationships are toxic. Oh, that's BS. Oh, that's BS. And if the children are learning that, then we can stay tuned for a clown show, right? When it comes to their relationships. That's not what I wish. But going around telling men that who they are, that's who men are. What they want from a woman, what they look for, what they're attracted to. It's not all men, but it's most. Is wrong, is toxic, just won't end well at all. Lastly, I want to touch on this topic of them talking about why is it that she dates younger men? Because you may think this is something that's unique to her, but it's just not. We've seen this. This is what happens. When women get older, there's a strange phenomena. You can see this if you do the research, where younger men start to find those women attractive. There was a whole graph that I used to show you guys if you've been watching the channel for a while. And I even covered it in this video with Layla Anthony, where she talks about it in this video. It's titled Layla Anthony Admits Only Young Men Want to Date Her. And she's talking about, oh, this is insane and it's just crazy. And this, of course, is happening as she's getting older. The truth is, it's not that insane. It's something that happens. Let's keep listening to it.
When you're younger, you want to date older guys. And I'm not saying when you get older, you want to date younger guys, but when you get older, only younger guys want to date you. It's the wildest thing. Literally, guys will DM me or want to take me out and I'll Google them. I'll be like, you're 22 years old. Like, what? How? Like, how does this work? But like, so confident. So like, I want to take you out. I think you're amazing.
So she goes on to talk about her experience with dealing with these younger men. And I even think in this video, I may have touched on, no, I don't see it here. Yeah. She talks about how, crazy it is and how confident they are. I am curious to know because my comments here are hilarious sometimes. Let's see here. Let's see what you guys had to say. This was 2 years ago. Wow. Top comment here says younger men typically have less options, and so they go for lower hanging fruit. And so there's this opinion, and I actually think this is a big part of it. Goes on to say there's always the matter of wanting to mess around with an experienced woman for a change. Keywords, mess around, it's just fun. When I was 20, so this guy's giving his own personal account, I remember getting a buzz out of fooling around with a 30-year-old woman. Now at 34, I get a buzz out of being with the hot chick in her early 20s. And I don't think that will change unless I settle down. Here's somebody else who says they're so confident they have nothing to lose. Somebody else here added dating, sure. But wifing up, never. And I think that's the thing that, Tracee Ellis Ross doesn't realize is that these young men typically aren't looking to seriously settle down. If they are, then it's like the Rachel Lindsay situation, right? The one who picked the guy from The Bachelor. They look at you, you're walking lick. They may be thinking of, wow, if I marry this woman, I'll be taken care of for life. And then now you're in the Oprah Winfrey situation if you do not get a prenuptial agreement and choose to marry. And I say Oprah Winfrey because I understand they're not married, but I mean, as far as dynamic goes, taking care of another man. Somebody else here says, so does the wall really mean anything? A woman's options at 41 still better than a 41-year-old male? I think people really misunderstand the whole wall thing, right? I think they don't get that women don't value sex the same way that men value sex. So for example, you look at someone like Layla Anthony and you may be saying to yourself, oh, she can go and has access to all these guys. Yes, sexual access. But how many of them can sit there and say, I only want to deal with her for the rest of my life and no one else? This is what these women want. Even in the case of Oprah Winfrey, even when they don't want marriage, they want a guy who's willing to deal with them long term. And so women value different things in different ways. Let's see what else we have here. This woman here says it's a childhood fetish. They want to tell everybody that they smash such and such. I hope she ain't happy for that. She's 40 and still out there acting like she's 25. See what else other people have to say. Call her rah-rah, hero rah-rah. Someone else who says respectfully, I'm loving this phrase. I see she's actually 43. So this was 2 years ago. She's about 45 right now. This commenter says, things normally get better for men as we age. Yeah. It's interesting, man. Interesting conversation. And so the whole point here I'm trying to paint is that this isn't something that's unique and shouldn't be that surprising. It's just what happens as a woman gets older and has not yet found a man who have her and take her seriously for a long-term relationship or marriage. Again, if you don't want that, you don't want that. But you're not unique. Moving on.
What did you just say?
That I'm bringing the kids to my mom because she wants to see them.
You're not bringing no kids to your mom. You're not bringing the kids over. Do you want the kids around somebody that talks poorly about their mother all the time?
All right, so the caption on this video says, Mom leaves husband with kids. Interesting video. I really want to make sure you guys are following along here. So I'm actually going to start from the beginning one more time so you can see the interactions going on here.
Everything's going to be solved. But, you know, she wants to see them. She misses them.
She doesn't get that. She doesn't get that privilege. She doesn't get that privilege anymore. She doesn't get that privilege anymore. You either put her
in her grandkids.
Poor excuse of a grandmother for her to even call them her grandkids. That's hilarious. You either put her in her place. You either put her in her place or you just cut her off completely. That's if you care about your family.
I am putting her in her place.
You are putting her in her place?
Yeah, I'm not letting her come over here.
Jaime, you know what? I'm just going to take the kids and I'm going to go. When you figure...
Where are you going to go? What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it.
Wait, hold on. The caption on this post says, Mom leaves husband with kids. That's what it says. She says she's going to take the kids. All right, so I don't know if the caption was wrong.
You're not going anywhere with my kids.
With your kid.
That's what happens when you marry a mama's boy. I don't understand how some husbands allow their mom to speak poorly about their wife, the mother of their children, and think it's okay. Would you let someone speak poorly about your son or daughter or about yourself? So why do you allow family to do that in front of your kids? Honestly, be so for real.
Huh. What do you guys think of this video so far? I'll start here. First off, things are tough. And I think I'm really fortunate that there are good relationships when it comes to like mother-in-laws, father-in-laws within my marriage. And I've heard some horrible stories, right? Some very challenging stories that are kind of hard to place on trying to navigate what you would do in that particular situation. And so first, I just want to acknowledge that not every relationship and family, when they try to blend together after marriage, is ever easy. But here's what I find ironic about this whole situation. Hear me out. She's complaining that her husband's mother, right, her mother-in-law, talks negatively about her. I don't know if it's to the kids, but talks negatively about her. Let's say worst case scenario, it's to the kids. That's the complaint here. What I think is ironic is here she is on a public platform. Because it's one thing if this, you know, you're having drama within your household. People usually have things that go on within their household. No family's perfect out here. We all have our flaws. But now you're on TikTok talking badly about your mother-in-law to the rest of the world. And so typically I would look at this situation and say, that's a tough situation, and just, you know, move on if I heard it outside of TikTok. But the fact that she's recording herself and their interaction they're having here and posts it online. Are you guys following me? If you disagree, please let me know. But the fact that she's doing that publicly online, it makes me think that she's just as bad. If we assume that the mother-in-law does in fact talk shit and the husband didn't say, hey, no, she doesn't talk shit, you're the problem. No, it sounds like there might be some truth to what the mother's saying right there. But how are you on here doing the exact same thing? This lets me know that two people who are kind of willing to push the lines met their match. And so in conclusion, I'll say this. If you and your wife typically, and this is my stance, don't have any issues with each other, and your mother is the problem in your marriage, then yes, I do believe that she needs to be the one that has to be checked. But this right here also needs to be checked as well. This right here. And yes, she might be fed up. Yes, she might have viewed this as an emotional moment where she acted out of character, but this shouldn't be a resort or even a last resort to reach out to people on TikTok who's just going to tell you to explode your marriage, break your family, traumatize your kids, so on and so forth, right? I don't think mothers should have too much say in your relationship. I think people should stay out of your marriage. I think a lot of marriages are ruined that way on both ends. You can have people from your wife's end who have things to say, how they think things should be dealt with within your marriage. I think those people need to know very clearly that they need to respect that, and there needs to be consequences, which could be sometimes that you're not going to get to see us as much if you cross these boundaries, so on and so forth. Maybe that's because I approach things from the biblical perspective of when a daughter leaves her family, a man leaves his family, they leave, they become one. Some men out here, you're never going to clip them away from their mothers. To me, that never makes sense, right? Read a few comments here. Top comment says, I agree with her. He needs to put his wife first. Somebody else who says she is not wrong. Here's another woman who says he should go marry his mom. Somebody else here added, I agree with her. And I think part of this too is it seems like there is this pattern of mothers, wives not having a good relationship with their mother-in-law. We're going to read quite a bit of comments here. This one says, she set her boundaries. Somebody else here added, my dad went to war with his family over my mom. Yeah. And this says, and my grandma, in parentheses, dad's mom, loved my mom, called her her own daughter. It was my aunt who said something, and my dad tore into my aunt. Somebody else here added on to that thread and said, my man would too, and kind of has. His family wasn't happy I got pregnant pretty quick, but he put them in their place and nothing was ever said again. You do need to do that once in a while. And that's for anybody, man. You know, a lot of these people will try to tell you how your relationship needs to be ran and try to overstep, and they'll see how much they can push. No, no. You're going to upset them, right? You're going to upset somebody is what I really want to say. And the last person you want to be at odds with is the person who you said you're going to stick with till death do you part. And that's your significant other. Somebody else who says, y'all would never understand until you have a terrible mother-in-law. Mommy's boy. Here's somebody else who says, Sarah Silverman from School of Rock. They think she looks like somebody. What else do we have here? A question you have to ask yourself, are you marrying your wife or your mom? Yeah. I know I'm going to get some guys who are probably going to disagree with this, but I know there are a lot of dudes out here who are too attached to their mothers. There are a lot of guys out here who are too attached to their mothers, and they allow them to make just huge decisions in their lives or to influence their family. And at some point, you got to put that foot down. Now, again, people, I think that it's crazy that she's on here exposing her mother-in-law on TikTok like this, and also her family business on TikTok. You know, to me, that's kind of strange. Maybe there's more to this situation and stories as well, but I do think this is kind of strange. All right. Why come to TikTok? The only solutions the TikTok has out here is leave them. Once in a while, you may get some good advice, but it's usually leave them. It's not worth it. Break up your family, so on and so forth. And whenever I see a wife get online and complain, it's always followed by some type of like a teary-eyed, I think we're going to get divorced style video. I don't know, man. People just need to stay off the internet with their family business. It makes no sense. What else do we have here? This person says, I agree with the wife because I grew up seeing my mom go through this too. My grandma disliked my mom for no reason and sometimes would talk badly about her in front of me when I was a kid. Yes. Even when they're wrong, you have to show the people around you that your family is your unit, right? That those are the people who you're going to stick to, even when they're wrong sometimes. And your wife should also respect that. She shouldn't sit there and side with other people and talk shit about you behind your back. No, she should check other people and say, hey, you're not going to speak like that about my husband. And if she disagrees with you, You know, you want to get to the point where you guys can have those conversations. But when you're dealing with other people, family comes first, always. Somebody else who says, I just recently had a debacle with my mother-in-law. It was solved. But my fiance was definitely ride or die with me and said he stood behind me 100%, didn't even question it. Let's see what else we have. This says, that's a future single mom right there. Last time my dad did this, I went to his mom's and she poisoned me to get back at what? To get back at mom? Now, there's some evil people in this world. I feel like after that one, it's time to move on to the next topic. We gotta move on. Moving on.
To a single woman.
Let's start her from the beginning.
All right, y'all. I'm frustrated today.
Talk to us.
Cause y'all, why y'all be setting me up for failure? Why ain't nobody tell me how difficult it was gonna be going from a wife to a single woman? Y'all, I swear to God, I'm dying out here. I'm dying. SOS. Man, y'all, I need help. Like, I don't get it. I'm stuck. Like, man, once you've been a wife, it is damn near impossible to morph back into a girlfriend. Baby, I'm a wife. When I go in at 100. I don't know how to pretend like I like you a little bit when I know I like you a lot. You know, and a lot of people be like, oh, that's too aggressive to tell a guy this. Why you when I know I do? And hell, I want to know that you like me at the same capacity.
Right.
Because if you don't, what we here for? What we doing? We just wasted each other time. Y'all, I'm not that person. I can't pretend like, you know, oh, I only like him a little bit. Or why are we pretending at all? We 3? Like, I'm trying to figure out if you for me and I'm for you. You know, because if not, can you please move over? Because I want him right there, the one that's for me, who gonna be my forever person. And if that ain't you, and you don't want to participate in the process of me finding out if that's you, then you wasting my time. You wasting your time. Y'all, I can't get it. This ain't working for me. Like, I ain't supposed to be nobody girlfriend, pretending like I like you and then waiting a little bit to respond back to your messages when I know I want to respond right back, and I want to check on you, and I want you to check on me, and I want to be up under you, smelling you, your scent on my clothes and mine on yours, and I gotta pretend like I don't like you. Where y'all get the scripts from? Like, how y'all know? Like, I don't even know what to do or how to do it right. Like, I give up. I ain't no girlfriend, man. I'm a wife. I'm a wife, man. Forget it.
Sounds and you know, I don't know how this marriage ended, but it sounds like you should have stayed with your husband, man. When I hear that a woman who's been married for a long time, I'm not talking about these 2-3 year marriages where they're like, oof, man, that was crazy, and they weren't actually ready for the marriage. No, I'm talking about somebody who's been married for a while. And I see the excitement, because I see it all the time. I see the videos. The excitement of them looking at the dating market like it's just a pool of options. I laugh a little inside. I laugh because they have no idea. It's a mess out here. And sure, you can get online and complain. And this is not just, you know, her. I'm talking about anybody else who's going through this. The reality is it's a mess. Everybody's dealing with the struggle and the difficulty within the dating market. You're not the only one. Welcome. And to anybody who's watching this and you're thinking of leaving your marriage and you haven't tried your best to work things through, just know that there's some suffering waiting for you out here. I'm not being too negative. No. It is a negative experience in most cases to be out here and dating. I remember before I even got married, I got to the point where I said to myself, and this wasn't that long ago because I haven't been married for that long, right? I got to the point where I said to myself, you know what? After you have a few serious relationships, you sit down and you think to yourself, is that heartbreak you go through after a serious relationship? I'm not talking about a fling or some person who you were just dating casually. No. talking about a real relationship that lasted some time, maybe a year or 2 years, 3 years. You may get to know someone deeply. I got to the point where I thought to myself, is any of this worth it? And I'm talking about relationships. Are any of these serious relationships worth it if they aren't leading to a marriage? And it's because I valued marriage and wanted marriage. So that's how I interpreted it. And I pretty much said, I don't think I'll have a serious relationship with anybody else unless if I look at him as somebody who could be potentially a wife. Because what's the point of you investing in them and being exclusive and your heart's open, and then you go through the trauma and the experience of heartbreak. Oh, man.
Drink the coffee. It'll make you feel better.
Heartbreak is a bitter cup of coffee. I don't care who you are. I don't care how tough you think you are. Heartbreak will humble you. It will humble you. It will teach you things. It will motivate you out here. Go ask anybody who's ever accomplished anything great. Go ask anybody who's ever lost a significant amount of weight. Somewhere there, and part of their story was heartbreak. Motivated them to get their life together. That's how much it F's you up. And I got to the point where I said, there's so much of just an opportunity to go through that experience. But how many times can you go through that experience? How many times? Over and over again. Why would you want to? This is why you have people who are just moving around with their hearts closed. All they'll date multiple women because giving their heart to one person is too much for them. And I'm not saying that's the way you should do things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this. If you're, based on this video in the context, if you're someone who's in a relationship and a marriage that's doing well, and you're thinking that you're going to get out here into this dating market and it's going to be this 1-2 done, hire dating coach or do whatever, there's no magic recipe to finding somebody who you're compatible with. There's nothing out here except for trauma, some D for you, lots of that, and confusion, right? And a whole lot of coffee for you to drink. And by the end of it, your mind is troubled. Now, for this particular lady, again, I don't know what happened in her marriage or where things went wrong. If I'm going to make an assumption, because life, people do that in life, then I'd assume that she probably thought things might be better out here. Now, you could find out her husband died or something crazy happened if that's the case, and I'm sorry to hear that. But let's be honest. In most cases, that's not the type of tragic situation we're talking about. Dating after divorce. Oh, shoot. She has a series here explaining everything. Let's see what she's talking about. Hold on. So this is Dating After Divorce Part 2.
Hey, y'all. Good morning.
What's up?
Boy, I woke up to a big old surprise. Woo! Honey, I woke up to all them comments and all that traction to my video. And I was like, whoa. Okay. Y'all, initially, I'm not gonna lie. Look, I'm just a regular old person. Baby, ain't nothing special about me. I just made that video for laughs and giggles.
Right.
I was bored yesterday, and I say, you know what? Let me make a video about how crazy dating is right now after, divorced and being in your 40s, man. So I made it. But I did not expect it to get that much traction or that much attention. But nonetheless, I thank y'all so much for all the engagement. I especially thank all y'all for the positive, messages and the motivating messages. Thank y'all so much. And the negative ones too. I'm not gonna lie. I learned from it all, y'all. This the internet. Okay? Y'all don't know me. I don't know y'all. And I'm gonna tell.
At least she's grounded, right? You have chicks who come on here and be mad after they put something out into into the internet and be like, how dare you guys have an opinion on my public post?
Tell y'all that as well. Anything anybody says to you on the internet, y'all let that stuff roll off your shoulders. Let it go in one ear and out the other. Y'all don't know them people and they don't know you. So Y'all don't let that affect y'all. But I have thick skin. I'm a little proud military, so you know it don't bother me.
Right.
But nah, you know, it don't bother me, baby, because that's your opinion, you know, and your opinion, everyone's opinions is based off of their personal experiences, and that has absolutely nothing to do with me or to do with you, y'all. So let that stuff go. But anyway, another thing. Front face camera. Boom, boom, boom. This ring is on my right hand. When you're using a front face camera, everything is mirrored. That is on my right hand. Got it? All right, cool. All right. Number 2, y'all, I left my relationship because I had to, not because I wanted to.
Okay.
If you talk to anyone that knows me on a personal basis, they will tell you that I am a fighter. I am one that does not give up. And that's probably why I've had so many issues with my relationships, because people look at me and they see my heart far before they see me. They know she ain't going nowhere. She's a fighter. She gonna stay. And guess what? Unfortunately, I am. But I don't look at that as a bad thing. Because, baby, when I find that other fighter,
Okay, so she did leave. Interesting. Isn't it funny how I was asking those questions? I didn't expect for her to have this whole 3-part series. Chisha, are you going to make us go through this? I'm kind of curious. Okay. Aren't you a little bit curious? I'm a little bit curious. Let's check it out. Let's see. Might be something that's interesting here.
Okay, y'all. So, I'm back. But in regards to my relationship, y'all, I'm never going to tell you all the in-depth details of my relationship because people change. I have grown and matured to the age to understand that. Let's say I did tell you all the deep, dark, dirty details of it.
Right.
And one day, this man, he goes and he transforms himself, does all the necessary inner work, get right with God, and he is the man that he is supposed to be in God's eyes. And he finally meets that woman of his dreams. But because she's heard of who he used to be, she declines in being his wife and being involved in his life. Y'all, that is horrible. That's horrible.
Wow.
What if that was me, y'all? I think about stuff like that. What if that was me? What if it was me that made the mistake?
Hold on. Hey, listen, I think I'm starting to think that this chick was different from the rest. And I say this because how many times have you guys think about this? How many times have you guys seen a chick come out here and actually say she's considering how this may affect the other person if she talked trash about him here online in front of everybody else? She seems like somebody who's introspective, probably isn't ready for the streets, and unfortunately here she is. All right, that's what I see so far. Let's keep listening. You're allowed to disagree. Let's keep listening.
And then because of my past, the person that I'm willing to lay down my life for, the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, denies being with me, will not give me the opportunity or a chance because they found out who I used to be. Y'all, I don't want any hand in that. I wish nothing but the best for that man. Despite all we've been through, I want nothing but the best for him, always. But that's why I will not tell you. But I will tell you that I left my marriage because what I went through was intolerable. It was intolerable. But I will tell you this. I take accountability for my actions. I do not fault that man. You want to know why? Because that man was merely being who he was. I chose to stay. I chose to go through what I went through. I chose that. Okay? I could have left, but no. Tamika wanted to stay there and fight for her family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what we have to learn to do as women and men, because men go through this situation as well, we need to learn that we have to take accountability for our decisions, and all of our decisions comes with consequences. we have to remember that. That's why we have to be careful of the decisions we make.
All right, that's the end of the video. Not that it should matter, not that she should care, but as a spectator listening to this, I'm like, hey, she seems like she's on the right trajectory and on the right path when it comes to her assessment of life and her experience. Now I know we're gonna get some people who, the nitpick police of, oh, she's got the tattoo, or I'm tatted. And yes, I think that for some men out there, they may view that as a red flag. It's just kind of interesting to me when I see what people will pull out. I don't think everybody who necessarily may come across a certain way to you, or maybe they may not fit in your stereotypical box of this is what a healthy person is within a relationship is or whatnot. I believe there's some cases when somebody's able to be honest and take accountability about the roles that they played within their marriage, and they don't want to destroy the reputation of their ex or last partner. I think there's a lot to be said about that person and their character. So shout out to this chick. All right, moving on.
I'm convinced that Adam ate the apple in the Garden of Eden. He was the one to start. He didn't listen. He disobeyed.
Oh my, they've lost it. They've completely lost it. They've completely lost their minds. What are we talking about here?
Can't make this up. You can't make this up. This is ludicrous. Now we're avoiding biblical responsibility. You can't even make. They're avoiding biblical responsibility over here. Look,
does this chick just say that she believes that Adam is the one that ate the fruit first? And so what did he do? Tell Eve to say that she ate it and God didn't catch it? Like, what are we talking about here?
There's two ways to look at this, right? Okay, so let's say you are a believer. I'm not one casting stones or nothing, but that's a sin. Like you just tried to rewrite the Bible. You just tried to rewrite the Bible. If you're a believer, you just tried to rewrite the Bible, right? And if you're not a believer and you're saying, oh, I believe Adam did it, you don't even believe it's real. So now you're avoiding biblical fictional responsibility, which is like a whole nother level of crazy. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you don't believe in the Bible, right, and it's just a fictional story to you, and then you say, I don't believe Adam did it. What do you mean you don't believe Adam did it? That's like me reading Harry Potter and being like, I don't think Harry Potter was the boy who lived. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't believe he did it?
I think what's really interesting about this particular situation, and that woman who, by the way, deleted her video, I think because she realized, like, oh man, I sound kind of crazy right now, is if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, what's ironic is this woman is doing exactly what both Adam and Eve did do when they got caught. And that can speak to probably human nature, right? Is that you want to look for someone to blame. Eve was asked, hey, why'd you eat that fruit? She said, well, the serpent made me do it. And then Adam was asked, well, why'd you eat that fruit? Well, it's this woman you gave me, And so there begun the strife between men and women to this day.
There's no way you look at this statement and it makes any sense whether you believe it, the Bible, or you don't. It's simply ludicrous. Like how do you avoid accountability so hard? You go back to pre-ancient biblical. Like how do you do that? How do you avoid accountability that hard? How are you vicariously avoiding accountability for Eve? Eve? I can't even do it.
I'm not too surprised. I've seen many times on this channel, you guys have seen me report on, women questioning the validity of, and I'm not saying these are people who doubt that the Bible and the stories in there are real. No. These are women who want to embrace Christianity and faith, but they want to rewrite the Bible, right? They don't like the fact that the Bible was written by what it seems like were mostly men. They don't like the idea and the structural hierarchy within the family of woman submitting to man, I even saw another video that said stopping to decentering men begins when you start questioning whether God is a man or a woman, because there are these undertones, or they're not even undertones, very heavy tones of God representing a father, which is more of a masculine figure. And they don't like that. Feminists don't like that. Is God a man? I think that's a stretch too far. I don't think that's something that the Bible alludes to him being a man. But there's a case to be made that when you hear God and how he's experienced and how he's interpreted in scripture, how, you have that father perspective, there is a more masculine tone to his presence. Now, none of us can know that for sure. So this isn't gospel here. None of us can know that for a fact. We eventually will be able to, for those that believe him and look forward to seeing him. Let's check a few of these comments. Top comment here says, he did eat. We changed the Bible to shift the blame onto women. He did eat. We changed the Bible to shift the blame onto women. That's why we have the Adam's apple. It's a constant reminder. What are you talking? Well, Eve and Adam did eat the fruit, but the question is who ate it first. Not that it necessarily matters at this point, but if we're basing this off the original story. This comment here says, is this not considered blasphemy? Somebody else here says, oh yeah, for sure. Somebody else here added, it's more heretical. Maybe more heretical. Somebody else here says, next, they'll tell you Samson betrayed Delilah. That's funny. This person says, we're done for. Somebody else here added, that's next for real. Here's another person who says, you've killed me. Here's somebody else that says, Samson took our hair. That's why we can't grow our edges. Yo, y'all some fools over here in this comment section. At this point, I'm surprised it hasn't been said. Who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows the wild stuff is going to come out of modern women's mouths? Somebody else here says women and accountability. Somebody else here added, I'm just a girl, Bible version. Somebody else here says grown woman, by the way. Here's somebody else who says women and sense. Somebody else who says, Father God, they down here rewriting the word to avoid accountability. This is crazy. I've never actually seriously even considered that. Oh, this might be actually cool to ask Mrs. Coffee. Oh, listen, I get excited with the AI stuff. You guys know, AI excites me more than it scares me. A lot of people are scared by AI, but it's technology. And I realized very quickly, you guys know I've been fooling around with the AI thing for a while now, right? Like I've tried. I even did like a cloning voice of myself. Some of you guys didn't like that. There were a few of you who actually thought it was cool, but I get at the end of the day, you guys come on here to hear me talk. But I thought for the sake of it, I'll just see how it worked out. Most people just watched the video. They could tell it was AI voice. They could. But I think, I'm really grateful to have my subscribers and supporters because you guys didn't make a big deal of that. But I think this would be an interesting question to ask Miss Coffee of like a, fictional question, a theoretical question, so to speak. Let's see. Miss Coffee, quick question for you. Let's say that the Bible was reinterpreted through the lens of the modern feminist woman. And I'm not talking about the type of woman who views things from a traditional perspective. No, I'm talking about feminist, someone who's a very serious believer in modern feminism and what it is today. Give us a take of what that would actually look like. Let's see what it comes up with.
Ooh, hun, I've been waiting for a question like this. Let me sip this tea and crack my knuckles, because if the Bible were reinterpreted by a modern diehard feminist, the ones that say smash the patriarchy before grace at dinner, the whole book would get a makeover like it was about to walk a New York Fashion Week runway in a power suit made of reclaimed birth control packets and shredded gender roles. Here's what that version might look like. Damn. All love, all satire, all jokes. Let's call it the New Empowerment Translation Net Bible. Right. Genesis, in the beginning, they them created the heavens and the earth. No Adam and Eve. Oh no, it's Adon and Evra.
Did she just say they them created the heavens and earth? Yo, that is hilarious.
No Adam and Eve. Oh, let's call it the New Empowerment Translation Net Bible. Genesis, in the beginning, they them created the heavens and the earth. No Adam and Eve.
Hilarious.
Oh no. It's Adon and Evra, two non-binary eco-conscious beings with matching pronoun necklaces and compostable fig leaves. The snake? Still problematic. But instead of tempting, it's just trying to educate Evra on the dangers of patriarchal fruit shaming. Don't let anyone tell you what tree to eat from, queen. Knowledge is power. Gaslight gatekeep girl boss.
Right.
The 10 Commandments get rebranded. Thou shalt not mansplain. Thou shalt not judge a woman's body count or bank account. The phrase women should remain silent in churches is replaced with women should speak, lead, and possibly start a YouTube series with ad revenue enabled. Marriage in Ephesians? Wives submit to your husbands becomes. Partners uplift each other equally in safe spaces, alternating emotional dominance based on moon cycles and whose birth chart says they're thriving. Revelation is no longer the apocalypse. It's the gender reveal party to end all gender reveal parties. And instead of plagues, we get Mercury retrograde, canceled group chats, and 4 horse people of emotional burnout. Whew, you wanted comedy? You got it, hun.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Some of that stuff, I don't know if I should even allow here. But anyways, that was interesting. Let's see what else we have. Here. All right, let's start this off.
So we avoiding biblical accountability now? So now we done got to picking and choosing when it comes to the word. This is why I tell y'all, fellas, stop listening to them when they talk about tradition and stuff. No, everything is modern nowadays. When it fits what they want to push or believe, that's what they try to change it to.
I beg your pardon. I'm just
she lost her mind saying that. So you know what? Since we just saying stuff that just don't make sense, right? I'm just gonna start pushing the message of she who finds a husband finds a good thing. If that's what we doing, and I'm cool with it,
right?
Because I don't feel like we should be living by no old standards anyway. So that's right up my alley. And I always go back to this. It's always gonna be somebody that goes along with the how should I say it? I'm gonna say it like this: immature logic that's displayed in the video beforehand, and it just make you look at them like, do better.
Just another day on TikTok. Moving on. What else do we have here? Final last topics here. Let's see. The caption of this video is men that are super religious are incredibly lustful. And how does this woman know this? Well, she just dated one of them, right? Ironic.
Men that are super religious are super lustful and high-key demonic. I feel like without the God or the Bible or whatever they serve, without that, they would be such terrifying people to exist in society. These men are suffering inside like so much because they have all these lustful ideas and ideations of women and they just don't know what to do with it. But because they have, I'll use Christianity because I grew up in a Christian religion and I literally just got out of a relationship with this super, super Christian man of God, heavy on the air quotes. And he was just so lustful, so controlling, so manipulative, so abusive, so everything. And it was just so interesting to like witness it happen in front of me because I'm like, you really think you are following God and Jesus? Like you really think you're doing what Jesus would want you to do? And it's so insane that the disconnect, the dissonance, and they're suffering inside because they know to some degree it doesn't make sense for them to have this yearning, this lustful energy, right? They know it's there and they want to exercise, but this book is telling them they can't do it. And something about that they don't agree with. But because they're so brainwashed in the religion, they just force themselves to pretend that they're not lustful demons. Literally, they're lustful demons cosplaying as men of God. And it's
this is wild.
Terrifying. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out in these streets, ladies. If he is religious and his actions are not matching what he says he's supposed to be, you know, if he's not practicing what he's preaching, you need to run. Pack your bags right now. I need you to get up out there, please, sister, please.
All right. So here's the thing. I actually can sit here and agree with the statement that she made about a man who's not practicing what he preaches. And I also say this, man. I do think that there is a form of religion, and this can come from any type of religion, that goes overboard, forgets the core reason of why you are embracing that religion. It should be that you want to have a good life, right? And you want what's good for you. Good for you isn't always what feels good, right? We can all do crack, but that's not good for your life. Extreme example, but hopefully you guys understand what I mean. But there's also this too. Like, why is it that these chicks who come online and complain about religious men are lustful? Because I think religion, when done correctly, when it doesn't become a formality thing, especially in Christianity, when you realize that you cannot be perfect and you're not saved by your perfection, and you truly do rest on Jesus and understand that there's nothing you can do to deserve God's promise of salvation. The question I would ask is, if that's you, if you are talking and complaining about this, what did that man see in you? What are these lustful men seeing in you? And let's keep it real. And this is the truth. You want the truth or you don't want the truth. The biggest freaks I've ever found are in the church. I don't know another way to put it. And I'm not saying that these are necessarily in a particular church, as in like Christians or whatever, right? Whatever denomination you pick. No, I'm saying the women in there, you can also say, have their own lustful temptations themselves. I thought we were over this. Can we stop pretending? Can we stop? Because I don't think men are really buying this anymore. So we got to stop pretending. We got to stop acting like women don't deal with the same lustful temptations. We got to stop acting like women, yeah, they may not be watching it to the same degree, that they don't go online and watch adult content. Unhealthy for both men and women. I've been there. I remember the first time someone introduced me to that when I was like a young boy. I was in a library. They told me to go to some website, and I'm only telling this story because we live in this generation where it's just so easily accessible, right? I remember looking at that and being like, wow, so you're telling me you could go to this site and they just have adult content there. I remember thinking of that as a young boy, thinking to myself, no one else goes through this. Then you get older, and hopefully by the time you get older, that's not something or a habit that you are holding on to. And if you are, you got to work to let go of that. But you find out the women are into it too. They're into it as well. What we're not going to do is pretend, that's the word I'm looking for, that men are dealing with things and have dealt with things that women today are just not. These chicks out here in these streets. And I just did a video about this not too long ago. And the men who, if you're out here dating and you deal with a lot of these women, you realize that they are. Not only are they active, but they're just as lustful. They too need help and need Jesus just as much. But this is the coffee pod, and I get it. You don't like it.
I would not drink bean juice.
No, I'll have a tea actually.
You have a tea actually. But as you guys can expect, check out some of these comments. You're going to have a bunch of people here telling you, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Queen Top Comedy says, as a Muslim woman, I totally agree. Somebody else here says, the lustful ideas aren't just about women. Oh, gee. Somebody else here says, avoid religious men at all costs. Here's somebody else who says, huge difference between a religious man and a man who follows Jesus. Here's somebody else who says, God first in bio. I mean, I see a lot of women doing that too. Somebody else here added, God-fearing, God first, run. Somebody else here added, I dated a Muslim guy. As a non-Muslim, I'm ready to tell my story. That's a really good conversation topic there. Why are you out here dating people who have drastic different beliefs from you? I think that's a good way to start off things on level difficult. Why do you want to set yourself up like that? I think if you are in a relationship with someone who has completely different beliefs from you, then you're going to have a tough time. Somebody else who says, I don't trust men in general. Here's somebody else who added, I realized that when I saw how they sexualize hijabis. 1000% everything is revealing to them because they're perverted. Okay. If he calls himself a man of God, constantly run. Let's see who's talking here. Interesting. What else do we have? I dated one and it was sickening, she says. Sickening. Interesting. Interesting. I'm curious to see if she has anything else on her page to follow up.
In an age gap relationship, you're supposed to be receiving the benefits of that, which means whether that's money or the fact that they've lived longer than you, so they're smarter than you in a way, so they can teach you things. If you're in an age gap relationship and you're going through relationship problems in the sense of like financial problems, like they can't support you financially, or you have to teach them things that they should know at their age. If you're in an age gap relationship and that's the reality that you're living in, you're being bamboozled and you need to run away as far as you can. Because what's the point? Why are you with, especially if you're a woman and you're with a man, like if you're a young woman with the older man and he's not giving you money and he's not teaching you things, both of them needs to be there. Both of them are not there. It's like,
I was
what?
I was kind of with her until she said giving you money. Like, what?
What are we doing? Well, if you're getting the money, that's fine. But I just think it's crazy to be a woman and then being with the older man and you have to teach him. As a woman, do you ever?
Why does it have to be giving you money? Why can't it just be he's teaching you how to build a good credit? He's showing you how to be financially literate. He's showing you how to set up your stock portfolio. Right? Why does it have to be he's handing you money? You know? Like, what's up with that? What is up with that? Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting strong feminist vibes from this video so far.
As a woman, do you ever think about how lucky you are to be a woman? Like, you could have been a man. Can you imagine? I just can't imagine being a man. I just feel like I'm happy that as a woman, I got pushed to work on myself rather than work on my achievements. I'm so grateful for that because I feel like men, the issue is that they find so much, what's the word? They find so much value in what they can do and what they can, achieve, that they don't really spend time on themselves, getting to know themselves, building themselves up, evolving. They just want to climb something. You're going to make it no matter what happens.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Did you guys? Somebody might have caught
As
it.
a woman,
Somebody might have caught
as a
it.
woman,
So she just said this. She just said, if you're with a man and he's not giving you money, if you're with a man and he's not giving you money, then he's pretty much useless if you're with an older man. Women don't understand that that's how they view men and this is just the way it is. Men act that way. They chase achievements because they realize that they have the burden of performance. And so then she turns around here and says, men, like, they choose to be in that type of a situation, that they choose to neglect all these other things like therapy every day and self-care, that they don't have to work every day to build themselves. It's what men have done. And it's never going to change. No matter how much you want to change the dynamics that were set up, they're not going to change. But here you see the contradiction. And I bet you she would meet a man and say, why haven't you been working on who you are? But the man is financially stable and sound, and she wants him to do all this inner work.
Something. They just want to control something. They just want to oppress something. And that's just, I feel really bad for them. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for the role of being a woman in this life because I just can't imagine. I can't imagine, especially a woman that has evolved past the belief systems that I were taught to hold on to, like being a wife, having kids. It's 10 out of 10. It's like one of the best existence to arrive upon because I didn't know this was here. Growing up, I was told I was waiting for my husband and my kids. And now that I'm here, I'm just like, I make the rules.
She makes the rules. Listen to me, guys. It will end in tears. There's no other way of putting it. It will end in tears. And this woman's she's an African woman. You guys know what I've said. Hey, you find a woman who embraces those cultural, traditional aspects, and you're a man who does that, you find yourself a good wife. Find yourself an African woman like that. But most of them that come here and they embrace feminism, they are the worst parts of that. They embrace that like it's their whole personality. And that's what you have right here. So watch out.
I find it funny when women say they're not attracted to Michael B. Jordan, and when they are attracted to him is when he plays an evil character. And a lot of people were upset by this, and I don't know how to explain it, but I understand what they're talking about. I think Michael B. Jordan is amazing. You know what I'm saying? As is the man that he is. He's very kind, he's very giving, he's very proud of his craft, but I get why they love the evil version of him, because that man is rough around the edges. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's toxic, and they love that. That's what they want.
Okay, do you guys remember a while back when the conversation of Michael B. Jordan being corny was a pretty viral topic? And it wasn't people just throwing this out of thin air. No, it was a woman on a podcast who made fun of him and said, hey, we used to make fun of Michael B. Jordan. We went to school together. He was the corny dude. And so they were saying to see him become this guy who's very successful, and they made fun of him because of the way he carried himself. You know, he wasn't street enough to a lot of them. And we know that's what it really is to a lot of these chicks, right? Didn't look like the type of man they want to allow to make them single mothers and then complain about later on. He didn't fit that ideal type of dude who they would want to clap the cheeks and then act like they don't know, like he just slipped up in there. That was the sentiment. And there was a lot of offshoots to conversations that were had about that just during that time. Here we are again, and people are kind of revisiting this whole perspective of, why don't we find him attractive? Why don't I want him to be my baby daddy? And, you know, we can all make our think pieces. I'm curious to know yours. Comment down below. Let's keep listening.
He walks different, he talks different, and it's not necessarily that a lot of women are, you know, attracted to toxic men, but the mannerisms and the way they talk, and the, like, you don't know what he's going to do next, and he's going to be rough with you, is kind of that's what they're going. But I know what they're talking about, not necessarily saying that I want somebody that's evil. I like Michael B. Jordan as is. But I remember when, I forget what this actor name is, and I gotta find him. Oscar, it was in a Marvel series, he plays two different like personality characters or whatever. And one character is not confident in themselves or whatever. The second character is, like, I didn't fully watch it because I was so disgusted with the unconfident version of him. I was like all my attraction had left. I've only seen clips of this movie of him in this. That man, the clips I saw, the way he was walking and doing, that man, that's my man. That man that I saw that was unconfident and kind of talking weird, get that man away from me. I take back the speaking weird. He wasn't speaking weird. His tone of voice wasn't what I was used to. But that other one, that one with the beard, he was speaking deeply to my soul. To my soul. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I understand. Other than that, like a Follow for More and Child, I find.
All right. So there is a version of this conversation that also needs to be had that comes down to the shot of espresso that every man at some age must take. And that is that women do not like nice guys. Don't be a nice guy. Nice guys do finish last. And the women that want to advise you in any other way, or men want to see you lose and miserable. Now, they may not know that, but trust me, you don't want to be what I would call a people pleaser, especially to women. It doesn't work out well in the long run. So there's that element. And I think you do need to push back on a woman. You can't be too nice to any woman. It doesn't mean that you go out of your way to make her life a living hell. I'm not telling you to go pushing women over here. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about women are attracted to men who they know can stand up to them, because to them, that means that you can stand up to other men who may cross boundaries in your life and in their lives as a whole, in your potential family, right? It's an attractive trait to know that my man isn't afraid to fight back. Now, here's the other part of this where I think this is where most chicks approach this conversation. Too many modern women today are attracted to those pseudo-masculine qualities of men. They think if you're not somebody who's a hothead, you know, like the Killmonger type. I bet you they loved Killmonger in Black Panther when Michael B. Jordan played it. And the problem with that, while that was an amazing character, amazing movie, in real life, that's somebody who's just ready to crash out. That was a crash out type character. He wasn't someone who you could sit down and was strategic in his approach. No, he wanted to see things crash and burn. He was angry. Now, good for somebody who you may want some sexual tension with as a woman, and you may want to maybe have a short-term relationship with. But overall, unfortunately, these women are choosing those types of dudes to impregnate them and have children with, and then get on camera and complain and say he's such a piece of trash. I don't get it. It's like, well, you let Killmonger bust the cheeks. And what were you thinking? And so they're not attracted to who Michael B. Jordan is in real life, or who he's perceived to be. And maybe this could be because that's the type of brand that he wants to put out there. Probably works well with him, right? There are no brands out here that see him as a high-risk person to market products to, and he comes off very friendly. He probably could be different in real life, but that's his brand. And to a lot of women, they look at that, they're like, he's comes across too much of a nice, corny dude. Let's read a few comments here. Top comment says, y'all like toxicity. LOL, y'all trying to talk your way out of it, but it is what it is. A lot of chicks today do love toxicity. And this is why I think a lot of men really enjoy or laugh at the future archetype, because it's like that's those women's karma, right? That's the dude. It's like, yep, there you go. You got him now. Somebody else who says he's definitely handsome, but not my type. That's my point of view. See some responses here from other people. This person says, facts. I'm a gay man and I don't see the hype. Says, you're gay. Nobody would ever ask your opinion, and you're not, and he's not a fruitcake. Why are you even talking? He says, laughing emojis, you pressed about a comment that, okay, let's keep going. Here's someone else who says, it's just don't understand when some women say he's goofy and not their type. Then what is your type? Future? Exactly. A lot of these chicks would let Future beat it senselessly, viciously, fast, not slow, and possibly maybe even have his kid on top of that. And once they're in a dire survivor mode situation, they are looking for you. Not just to take care of them, but to take care of you and Future's offspring. Understand? The question is, will you rise up, young man or older man? Somebody else who says, now why you got to be extreme? It could be like old school Morris Chestnut, Shamar Moore, both fine as F, but Shamar gives corny, Morris gives raw. Next, question its energy. Doesn't have to be a thug, but dominant, I think. Here's someone else who says they'll just want to be, this chick here says they just want to be different. LOL. Somebody else here added, I find that man fine in every font. Okay, this is starting to feel a little sus. Spend too much time in here talking about how fine they find Michael B. Jordan. But yeah, I thought this was a really interesting topic. I don't know if you guys remember the time where this actually came out. And I don't even think that he actually even made an official statement. But everybody was talking about it. Everybody was talking about that situation back then. It was interesting. Moving on.
I went out tonight. I said, let me go and enjoy myself. But as I was enjoying myself, my eye open. I took eye. My eye shine. I said, God, men are so lucky. Men really have it good, y'all. Men really have it good. What? I went to 3 different events today. See woman, white, black, purple, long hair, short hair, black hair, purple hair, orange hair, skirt, short, skirt, long shirt, long small shirt. This one, belly button, no belly button. Her teeth is gap, no gap. She's wearing red Hanifa. One is wearing blue Hanifa. I say, yay. Men really have options.
You jealous? You jealous of the options that they do have? Oh man, if you're a dude today and your stuff's together, you're working on yourself, and you actually don't mind getting into the dating. Oh man, you could be out here killing it, killing it.
It smells like shit. Yet they will come and shout, "There's no good woman. Male loneliness epidemic. Road to teach on chon chon chon." You people dress like spoiled milk.
Wow.
You dress like spoiled milk. You have no personality. I was watching, no personality, nothing. Just anyhow. You got no chat, no banter. Me self, if I liked woman, today I would have collected like 20 number. All you have to do is compliment the smile. You compliment her Mia needs. You tell her you like the red one. The pink one may also suit her. Simple.
Please. You're telling me if you're a man, you think you could go out here and get 20 numbers of women who you think are fine? No idea what she's talking about. No idea what she's talking about. You think you could go out here, if you're a man, and get 20 numbers in one day? I bet you a lot of chicks believe this. They truly believe that it's actually that easy. And this is coming from somebody who, let me tell you something. All I needed to run into was alpha male strategies. And you know, a lot of people may be surprised by that. But one of the men who made one of the most impactful changes into my life, when he finally helped me see the power of having a purpose, not chasing women, understanding how to approach women. And we're talking about modern day women today. When it came to marriage, I always knew I was going to get married. I always knew that I was going to have a family. And I wanted to make sure I set them up in a 2-parent household. And I didn't really need help to know what a father looked like and a husband, because I had that, right? But my father, he's born in Zambia, lived there majority of his life. I lived here majority of my life. I go back there. I'm more American. I'm American citizenship. This is my life, right? This is going to be my children's life. I'm dealing with Western women, have been my whole life. So no one could really explain to me how to navigate that aspect. But yeah, I learned a lot from those AMS videos, man. And I was a spectator, just like you guys. I start off that way. Now, when it comes to like marriage and such, I know that I may differ with him, but to this day, I'm thankful I ran into those videos, knowing how to approach. Let me tell you, I didn't have a problem with approaching women or getting numbers, but you can't sit here and convince me in any way at all that you can go out here and get 20 numbers, because she thinks she can get them like almost consecutively if she was a man of women who you found attractive. Come on.
You people just be complaining because what? Look at the fine woman we did this world. We don't have fine men, oh. You people are not fine. You people are not.
So she's saying, let's go back. She's saying men aren't fine. I'm trying to see if she responded to any of these.
What I'm about to say might seem a little far-fetched to some, but it does make a little bit of sense to me. I've been seeing a lot of videos around DMV culture and the nightlife and just how the men have become more aggressive and the men don't really seem respectful towards women, blah, blah, blah. Bum rushing the DJ booth. Yeah. And what I've noticed in the comments a lot is like the girls saying like, why do they be doing that? Why do they bum rush the DJ booth? Blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you why. This is my theory. Men who do not have access to a certain level of power, control, influence, authority on a day-to-day basis, that is the closest that they're going to get to feeling. Not even they're close enough to power, because let's be honest, nightlife, the DJ runs it. These are men who are not in rooms where decisions are being made. These are men that are not in rooms where...
Bro, what is this woman talking about?
Okay, so I just came across a video of a creator who is talking about how she can spot whether or not a woman is an older woman, meaning millennials above, because...
Yeah, we're not going to... Yeah. What do we have here? Let's review these comments, see what the people have to say. Top comment here says, where's the lie? That's why We've been chanting Aaron Pierre for months. We have no options. Okay. Women full of a face full of makeup are out here talking about how men aren't attractive, right? I mean, makeup galore, talking about how a man's not attractive. You guys want to date women, and it seems like you're getting close. Next comment here says, the fine men likes other fine men. There you go. Red hair. Sounds about right. This other chick says, I see a fine man in real life maybe every 4 months. And I know some of you guys hate it when I do this. It's too many fine babes. They don't even deserve it. I think they're mad. They're angry at the options that the men have. This person says heavy on no personality. This person says they're hideous. It's not fair. Very unbalanced. You know, she says here. Let's see what else. Baddie apocalypse. I swear. Are we in a baddie apocalypse? Are we in a app filter apocalypse, makeup apocalypse? Come on, man. Where are the bear? Let's see. Shit like this. Oh, what was that? Let's go back. Let's go. Come on. Like, think if men could get away with this type of like just changing your whole physical appearance to this extent. This is the chick who's talking about we're in a baddie apocalypse. And I'm not saying any of these women are ugly. That's not what I'm saying. And I know there's some dudes who be like, they're all, come on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're not really judging this in reality. You're judging this off TikTok filters, women showing up glammed up at some event. You're not judging this in the reality of what it actually is. You know, you're judging this after you've put this thing on your head. Can this thing just like come off? Like if someone was to pull it off? What? My wife has dreads, right? My black queen, shout out to her, Dr. Umar would be proud, has locks. I think she told me to call them locks. She told me to stop calling them dreads. I didn't even know there's a difference. Let me ask Miss Coffee, our AI assistant, Miss Coffee. Miss Coffee, our barista, is there a difference between dreads and locks? I should probably know this. I have no idea.
Ooh, I love this question, darling. Yes, there is a difference. And while some folks use the terms dreads and locks or locks interchangeably, there's history, pride, and a whole lot of nuance in them roots. Let me stir it up for you. 1. The word dreadlocks carries a heavy history. The term dreadlocks has roots tied to colonialism and fear. It's said that when European colonizers first saw Rastafarians in Jamaica with their natural matted hair, they called it dreadful, as in, we dread seeing this. Hence, dreadlocks. That's why some people today don't vibe with the word. They feel like it carries negativity and outside judgment.
Really?
2. Locks is more empowered and intentional. When people say locks now, especially in the Black community, they're claiming the style with pride, purpose, and spiritual or cultural meaning. Locks represent growth, patience, identity, and resilience. They aren't dreadful, they're divine. It's a small shift in language, but a powerful one. Think of it like reclaiming your crown, one coil at a time. 3. Culturally versus casually used. People outside the culture, they often say dreads just out of habit or pop culture exposure. But within the culture, especially among those who view their hair as more than a style, the preferred term is usually locks. It's about intention, not just semantics. And let's be real. When your hair journey is sacred, you want the name to reflect that. So in short, yes, there's a difference. Not always in the look, but definitely in the meaning. Dreads came from fear. Locks come from love.
I get it. I get it. I get it. All right, guys, that's it. That's everything I got for you guys today. Of course, I'm curious to know, what do you think? Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you. Always, always, always appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. What do you think? You think she can pull 20 numbers in one day? I don't know. Maybe she can do it. Maybe she can go and record it disguised or something like that. Who knows? Till next time, I'm out. Peace.